All right, welcome to my YouTube live stream that I'm calling One Lap of Phoenix, where I am going to take the series of gigantic ring roads that go around the Phoenix area and do an entire lap of it. This is something I've never done before and always wanted to do because the Phoenix metro area is so spread out and so vast now, and it just keeps growing and growing. And now they've got this beautiful ring road series of freeways that all interconnect to go all the way around it. And I've been curious how long it would take to get around it. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do this because with the coronavirus and social distancing in place, it seems like everyone's got nothing better to do than sit at home right now anyway. So I thought, why not do it now? And then to top it off, Verizon gave me 15 free gig as part of the coronavirus thing, which I think is a brilliant idea that I will explain in just 1 minute. I'm just going to get the car started here. And I'm going to reset the trip computer so I can see just how long around this lap is going to be. Get the window up here so you can actually hear what I'm saying. And the other reason I'm doing this on YouTube is because I'll be able to switch the camera so you can see what I'm seeing out the road. So I'll just flip it right now. So this is my view right now, and we're going to get on the first section of our journey right here. So what I'm going to be getting out right now is the brand new section that was recently completed that allows this whole ring system to be complete. This is an extension of what they call Loop 202, and they just opened it at the end of the year last year, and it goes from Interstate 10 back to Interstate 10, which sounds weird, but it goes around what they call South Mountain in between a second mountain range to the west that I don't know the name of. I think it's the Gila Mountain Range. So we're going to get on the freeway here, and I'm going to have the cruise locked at 75 the entire way. And we'll still see how long it takes. One of the advantages down here I found out, and my friend Chip told me, because he's a motorcycle cop in Scottsdale, is that right now, unless you are doing a ridiculous amount of speed, the cops won't even look at you. They don't want to get near you any more than you want to get near other people right now. So I know I can be comfortable with the cruise locked at 75 and have a good little drive here. I'm going to flip the camera back. Okay, so I know this is a really, really weird time right now for everybody. It's been weird for me too. I've never been in a situation like this before where we're all locked down and we all really shouldn't work, even though that's not my experience right now. I work in an industry where we have to stay out there and keep working. I don't know if I've ever said this to anyone before, but I'm a fiber optic technician. So what I do is I go and splice fiber optic cable together. So all the high-speed connections around Phoenix, and they go across the country that allow the internet to happen and service. That's what I'm responsible for. So we have to stay working. In fact, they even gave us these laminated pieces of paper to keep in our vehicles. In case, for whatever reason, there would ever be fuel shortages, we take these to a gas station and we take them to the attendant, and they have to let us have gas because we are an emergency service. So that's kind of neat and kind of interesting. Although, the way things have been trending, I don't think fuel shortages are going to be a problem because gas out here has dropped to 25 cents in the last couple weeks. Nobody's using gas. I mean, and look at the freeway right now. I mean, there's nobody on the roads right now. And I'm going to keep flipping it back and forth because there really is some beautiful scenery out here. And this is another reason I wanted to do this, is I'm sure people have this preconception of what Phoenix is like. And you probably just think it's a gigantic desert. And there's definitely some truth in that. I just got my first reconnecting thing. This is going to be the other test of how well my Verizon connection is going to work out here, because this new section's pretty remote. I'm not sure if they're going to have cell towers in every single place for me to maintain a good connection. So if it's dropping in and out, you guys will have to let me know. I have the chat turned on, and if you guys want to ask me questions or say things during the chat, that's fine. I'd be happy to answer them for you. In fact, why can't I see the chat window? Is it because I'm in widescreen? I have chat turned on, and yet I can't see. I don't know if anybody said anything yet. So if you're watching right now, just post any comment and let me see if I can see it, so I know if I can see what you guys are saying. So getting back to it, yeah. It's weird because my parents live in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's on lockdown. I have other friends in other states that are also on lockdown. We are not on a complete lockdown here yet. Hi, Josh. Oh, thanks, Tyler. Okay, I can see the comments. That's brilliant. Thank you for saying that. So yeah, we're not on a complete lockdown yet. Some of our restaurants are still open. In fact, what's happening here is the restaurants, and in any attempt to stay open, are they're shutting the doors and doing drive-through only, which I'm sure is happening everywhere. Rick from Edmonton looking good. Wow, Canada. Hey, good on you guys. I love Canadians, by the way. There's a lot of you down here right now, too, on winter holiday. Although I don't know how many are still here after all this happened, but yeah, you guys are down here a lot in the winter. Yeah, so restaurants are doing their best to stay open, doing drive-through, takeout only. There's this one we've been working at the last few weeks called Rudy's Barbecue, which I absolutely love. You can go in and order it, but you can't eat inside. They have to give you everything. They're all wearing gloves. Everything comes in plastic bags, so they're doing their part, and I appreciate that. I feel bad for anyone who works in the restaurant and service industry right now. I really do. In fact, my girlfriend knows somebody who owns a pizzeria in Kansas, and he is having a hard time right now. He had to shut his doors. They have a mandate in Kansas. No restaurants can be open right now for anything, which sucks. So, hey, Josh from Chandler. Hey, I'm going to be coming up on Chandler in just a few minutes. You know that. You live here. So yeah, it sucks right now, and I feel bad. There's a lot of people that are hurting right now, and it sucks, and I feel bad for them. I've actually been thinking if we ever do get this government money we're all supposed to be getting, however much we're going to get, I'm not keeping it for myself, for one. I don't need it. I've been one of those lucky people. I'm financially in a good position. Even though I'm being forced to work, I'm still drawing my normal paycheck, so I've got money coming in, whereas other people don't. So I'll probably give that money away either to a food bank or someone who I know is in the service industry and needs that money. I think we should all do that because those people are hurting right now, and it sucks for them. It just does. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, all we can do is what we're supposed to do, which is stay away from each other and do our best to kind of stop this virus from spreading. So it sucks, but I'm sure we're going to come through it, and nobody knows how long it's going to take, and it's going to be weird for a while, but we'll get through it. We'll all get through it. We're just going to do our part, and things will be fine. So here's another cut in the mountain right here. Where are we? Coming up on Desert Foothills Parkway. So what we're coming up on right now is called Ahwatukee, and I love that because it's one of the only Indian names around here in Arizona that they actually use to name a city. Now, I'm being from Wisconsin, I'm really familiar with Indian names. We've got them for everything. So every time I come through Ahwatukee, I feel just a little bit at home, which I enjoy. And Ahwatukee is a really cool city. It kind of reminds me of Appleton, if you've ever been to Wisconsin, especially the downtown area, the way it's laid out. Very, very similar. And it's a cool place. So I made a list of topics here I could talk about while I was waiting for people to ask questions if they want to ask questions. So the other one I want to bring up is, for those who don't know and haven't been following the news, this happened just before coronavirus became a global thing. GM quietly announced that they were going to kill off Holden in Australia permanently. And at the end of the year, the Holden name will no longer be sold in Australia, and that's the only place it's even sold anymore. So the brand officially will be dead, and I find that to be very sad. Not just because I'm a huge fan of the cars, but it was the last manufacturer of cars in Australia. They no longer have a car industry at all. They're now an import-only country, which sucks because they have such a rich car history. Ford and Holden, everybody knows about them and some of the amazing cars that they created, and we were fortunate enough to get. But then there's the versions of Fords that we never got, the Falcon, for example. But there's so many cool versions of the Falcon out there, the Falcon Utes. And they're keeping their industry going by importing American muscle cars, but really the only one they can even import is the Mustang, because Ford had the good sense to sell them in right-hand drive. So you can buy one there in right-hand drive off the shelf for, I think I just talked to my buddy in Sydney the other day, and he says $65,000 gets you a GT with a few extra goodies that we don't normally get in a GT package as kind of an incentive to sell them to Australians. But it's really cool that they still have that, but they are importing the Camaro and HSV, which is no longer HSV, by the way. HSV is now referred to as GMSV, GM Special Vehicles. They are importing the Camaro and they are importing the Silverado. I think they have plans to import the Suburban, and then they convert them to right-hand drive so they can be driven legally in some of the states. Some states in Australia you can drive left-hand drive and they don't care. Other states, they're very strict on it. It has to be a right-hand drive vehicle. In New South Wales, where Sydney is one of those states. The problem becomes, by the time they're done converting a 1SS Camaro to right-hand drive and trying to sell it, it's over $90,000 Australian. When you can buy a V8 Mustang that's already right-hand drive for $65,000, well, that's the route most people are going. I asked my buddy if he's even seen any Camaros on the road down there, and he said he's seen like 2 or 3. Because why would you pay that? You'd have to be a diehard GM fanatic to pay that $25,000 premium to get the same thing you can get from Ford. So, and it just sucks. And I feel more of a desire than ever to preserve these cars on our side of the globe and keep them running. You know, a buddy of mine here on the Arizona Desert Goats Facebook page, which if you're in Arizona, you should totally get on. He released a document a couple of weeks ago that actually laid out the worldwide production for all of the Holden Monaros, and it was amazing to see just how many the Australians got and the rest of the world got versus how many we got. I think it was almost a 10-to-1 ratio of over the 5 years that Monaros were produced for Australia. They got about 4,000 total. Commodores, millions and millions of them. Monaros, only about 4,000 roughly, and we got 41,000 GTOs in just 2.5 years. So we have way more of their 2-door sports coupe than they do. So that's why I feel it's even bigger for us, because Monaro prices in Australia are going through the roof. They are getting way up there in value because there's so few of them, and they have no spare parts to repair them either. I've been trying to help my buddies in Australia. They come up and say, hey, we need doors, we need back glass, we need this, we need that, and get them parts shipped back to them so they can keep their cars running. And it's just so hard. It's so expensive. The exchange rate between Australia and us right now is so out of skew. Like, it's great for us. Like, if you want to get something from Australia right now, get it, because I think it's about 55 cents on the Australian dollar for us. I just received in the mail something. Do I want to say what it is? I don't want to say. Okay, I'll say what it is. So anyone who knows the HSVs really well knows the HSV Coupe, which is basically a Monaro in HSV drag, has a completely different rear spoiler, the 3-piece spoiler. So there's a company in Australia now that is reproducing the 3-piece spoiler. You can get it, and I just got mine, and I think I paid with shipping international $700, which to some of you might seem like an amazing deal, because if you remember back in the day, you could get them from JHP, but they were over $2,000. And this company, and I asked them, is this a 100% straight reproduction of that spoiler? And they said yes. Holden's patent expired on the spoiler. We can now reproduce it with 100% authenticity, and you can get it with or without the light if you don't want it. So if you want that 3-piece spoiler, you can get it. The website, I think it was called spoilersandbodykits.com.au, because it's Australian. So if you want that HSV 3-piece spoiler on your car, you can get it now. And I can't blame you, because honestly, I love everything about this car except that rear spoiler. It sits up too high. It blocks your rear visibility. I don't like how it looks on the back of the car. I get why guys take them off. I really do. But I also think the car having nothing back there doesn't look right either. So that's why I decided to get the 3-piece spoiler. And someday I'm going to get it put on. I don't know if I want to get it wrapped. I don't think I want to get it painted. But someday you will see that 3-piece spoiler on the car. So anything you want to get from them right now is just an insane deal to get. You can go on eBay Australia and find a lot of HSV and Holden pieces. You want to get a front bumper. Lots of guys want that front bumper. You can get them now for a pretty good deal. And they're not all willing to ship international, but I think it's getting more common because they know that we'll actually pay for them right now because the exchange rate is so good. So if you want Australian pieces right now, that is a thing you should do. I'm gonna flip the camera around here again so you can see. It's all still freeway, but look how quiet it is. Now I am officially in Chandler. Now this is a part of the 202 that has existed for a lot of years. This takes you out to what's called the East Valley. So the East Valley consists of Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, and it's now extending out into Santan as well. And then it also comes close to Apache Junction. So there's about 5 different cities out here, all interconnected and all butting up against each other as well. And yeah, this is a Sunday, 10:15, and the roads are absolutely dead. I'm sure if you live in a big city, the roads are pretty dead where you are too. But for me, it hasn't been this dead for a while. As this thing spreads, it gets worse and worse. More and more people are getting off the roads. And oh, by the way, here's a tech tip I want to give you to help you keep yourself away from this virus. So if you've gone into most retail outlets lately, I'm sure you've seen that all the cashiers are wearing latex gloves. A cheap and common place to get them that has not run out of stock because no one's thought of it yet, auto parts stores. They sell nitrile gloves, they sell latex gloves in boxes of 50 and boxes of 100. And for reasons I don't understand, I've gone into them the last couple of weeks and asked them, do you have them in stock? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. No one's going in there and getting latex gloves. I think anytime you're out in public, anytime you have to handle something that other people have to handle, gas pumps, items at the grocery store, checkout machines where you got to punch your keypad number in, you should be wearing those gloves. And that's an easy supply of them. You can get a bag of them for about, I don't know, 15, 16 bucks for a box of 100. And yeah, you should definitely go, next time you're in the auto parts store, get a box of those nitrile or nylon gloves. Anytime you got to handle anything, especially gas pumps. Somebody made that point to me the other day and I thought, well, that's a good idea, because I've been using like the corner of my wallet to type on keypads because I don't want to touch them. And I didn't think about the gas pump until somebody said it. So that's another thing we all just got to be mindful of, is what we're touching, especially in public spaces. We want to make sure we keep ourselves virus free. Even the signs here, let me flip it. Here's our road sign. All our road signs now are talking about how to stop it. Cover, cough, wash hands. Another one will say practice social distancing. They are really trying to hammer it into us right now. They're trying to get, there's a petition going around to get the state on lockdown. I don't know if we need it yet. And actually, I think we're going to be a decent barometer of what happens to this virus when it gets hot out, because our cool days are about to come to an end. This is going to be like our last cool day for a while. And we're supposed to get up in the 80s and 90s. So we'll see what heat and extreme dryness does to this, if it slows the spread of it. Hopefully it does. We have not had that many cases here, but we have had some. And we haven't had that big blow up yet, and I know a lot of big cities have. Like I have relatives that live in New York who I'm pretty worried about right now because it just blew up there really, really quickly. And in New Orleans, my girlfriend was supposed to go to New Orleans with her friend for a getaway, and that's not happening now. That blew up. So it's unfortunate, and I hope we don't have more of these cities that just blow up like this, but I mean, we could, because you never know. That's the thing that sucks so much about this. Up to 2 weeks before you even know what's happening, whether you have it or not, which is just awful. Actually, my girlfriend told me this morning, she works with somebody, 93-year-old grandfather, he caught it, and they've taken him all off of all life support because he just isn't going to be able to beat it. He's probably going to die today, which sucks. And he's going to be one of the few deaths we've had here, but he's going to be one of them. So just another reminder to stay safe. And it sucks because I miss hanging out with my car buddies. I miss hanging out with people. And I know you can get on Facebook and you can do web video chatting and everything. It's not the same. It's not the same as actually hanging out with your friends and wrenching and working on cars and doing things together. We are going to try to do something. A lot of guys have been encouraging me to get a cruise going out here, go do a day trip, because at least if we're in our cars, we're away from each other, but we're together doing something. So I'm going to try to schedule a cruise day here in the next week or two, so we can all get together and have some fun. So another thing I wanted to bring up is, so I know a lot of guys who own GTOs just own them because they're fast cars and they're fun, and they don't care that awful much about Pontiac and the Pontiac brand. If you do, that's cool, and I wanted to let you know that there is a group that I am a member of, that if you're a diehard Pontiacer and you've been Pontiac through and through, not just with the modern GTO, you might be familiar with the National Pontiac Club called POCI. The Pontiac Oakland Club International is what it stands for. So Oakland is actually the name of the brand. Before Pontiac was called Pontiac, it was called Oakland. And then in like the 1930s, they came out with a model called the Pontiac. And it was, I guess it was a pretty big success. And after that, they just decided to change the whole name of the brand to Pontiac. But the National Club is having their national meeting in Tulsa in July. Well, I don't know if they're having it now with this virus. I hope they still have it. But every year they have a national event, and they have it somewhere different all over the country. Like 2 years ago, or was it last year? It was in Wisconsin Dells. 2 years ago, or last year it was in Wisconsin Dells. And I went to Bowling Green, Kentucky 1 year for it. It was in St. Charles, Illinois. It's going to be out east. And there's all over this country, there are different Pontiac chapters you can be a member of. So in Arizona, I'm a member of what's called Cactus GTO, which is a club here in Phoenix for Pontiacs, and it's mostly classic Pontiacs and classic GTOs actually. But they also is another club here, Desert Renegades, which is for all Pontiacs, all classic Pontiacs especially. But there is a chapter of POCI now dedicated just to the modern GTO and the G8. We call it APP, but it stands for Australian Performance Pontiacs. So if you're a POCI member and you have a modern GTO or a G8 and you want to be a member of a club that's dedicated just to your car, APP is the club you want to join. It's run by my friend Richie Lovan, who lives in Arkansas. He's a really cool guy. I met him at POCI 3 years ago when it was in Dallas, and we got on really well. We had a little mini meet while we were there, and he was also a member of his local Arkansas chapter, and he kind of revitalized it and brought it back because it was kind of dying out, and he made it a really good club again. And now he's started this club too, or chapter, and it's doing really well. And we got members all over the country too. I'm a member. My buddy Joe Morgan's a member. We got members all over the place. So, and we all get together apart from at the national club meeting every year. Well, all of us try to go together and go and meet up there. But we try to let people know about the club, and I know it's not for everybody. I know you really got to be a diehard Pontiacer to want to be a club and pay annual member dues and things like that. But we also get discounts on parts from a lot of the different vendors. We've done deals with vendors where we get like 10, 15, 20% off from them. So if you're a member of the chapter, you get that as a benefit. And the annual membership fee is only $25, which is not a lot. You can easily recoup that just by buying parts at a discount from the vendors we're tied up with. And we're tied together with GTO, G8TA, I know. That's our main one. There's a couple others we are, and if you become a member, you can see all the different vendors we've got discounts with. So if you want to get discounts on your parts, you can become a member of the APP chapter of POCI for $25 a year, and you can get discounts on your parts. So for that reason alone, it's a great reason to be a member. But we also share footage and talks about events we're going to and things like that. I have put some custom video content up on there just for the APP chapter. Like I did a video, I took all of the episodes of the British Top Gear where they had a Holden in them in some way, shape, or form, and I put them all together in a compilation video that's almost an hour long of all the times Holden made an appearance on Top Gear. And it's a pretty slick video. I think they were in like 7 or 8 different shows, going all the way back to the original use of the HSV Coupe on Top Gear. They brought one over from Australia, and they were trialing it out before they got their version of the Monaro. Clarkson had one on track and was having a blast with that. I believe that was a V2 HSV. Someone from Australia will probably let me know if I'm right or wrong about that. So coming up on Gilbert, we're actually in Gilbert now. So if you see that giant net in front of us, that is Top Golf in Gilbert. We've got about 3 or 4 of those Top Golfs in Phoenix Metro now. I've never done one. It could be fun, because I do like to swing a golf club, but I hate golf. I'm just god-awful at it. And if it's something like that where it doesn't matter, I might be able to get down on that. So I might have to try that sometime. So we've been on the road now 25 minutes, gone 28 miles, and I'm not even to the edge of Gilbert yet, man. This is going to take a while. Please ask me some questions, give me some comments, give me something else to address, because yeah, I had a feeling this drive was going to take a while. I figured it was going to be at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. Until you get out here, you don't see the scale of how large things have gotten out here. And I know there's big cities everywhere, and I'm sure if you live in LA, you want to hit me upside the head. What are you talking about big? Have you been to LA? I have been to LA. That is absolutely massive. But it's also, 26 million people now, especially if you count all the outlying communities, which I can't even name them all. There's so many of them. But it just is spread out here. People are stacked on top of each other in California, but out here it is just spread out. Everyone's got their spot of land. Everyone's got their quarter acre or half acre. Everyone lives in a house. Everyone's walled off from their neighbors, but it just keeps going and going and going. They're building like crazy. And there's so many tech companies out here too that are putting down roots, and that's the reason so many people are coming here now. Microsoft is about to build a gigantic campus out in Goodyear, which will be over toward the end of the journey, an 89-acre campus, and they're also going to build what they call a smart city. And we've heard anywhere from 30,000 to 80,000 homes they're going to build in this smart city to just try to build like an interconnected, data-linked community. I'll be really excited to see that. Oh, we got a question here. What brand of front lower control arms do you recommend? The white line, all day, because you can buy those from them. They come with a brand new ball joint. They come with brand new bushings in them that are good quality, and it's just a drop-in piece. Simple. That is absolutely who I would go for when it comes to a lower control arm. Oh, I just missed another comment there. How do I bring that back up so I can see it when I want to see it? Oh, there we go. Depending on the coronavirus situation, what kind of events are you planning on attending this summer? Well, like I said, I really want to do POCI because I'm supposed to meet my buddy Joe there from Wisconsin, and we haven't seen each other for 3 years, except on Facebook or on video. So I definitely want to do that. I'm definitely going to do SEMA. My buddies from Australia are coming, and I get in on their credentials, and I'm going to go with them. I'm going to be there for the whole week this year. And then afterwards, they're going to come hang out with me for a few days down in Phoenix, and we're going to have some fun. I thought about Holden Run, but it's too close to SEMA, and I can't take that time off work. My girlfriend and I were actually supposed to go to Europe at some point this year to either do Italy and Greece or do a cruise. That's not going to happen now with everything that's going on, so we might end up doing some kind of a road trip somewhere. One of the things I actually got to do an episode on at some point is we got her a new car. She had this 2015 Chevy Equinox, which at the time was a great deal, and we both liked it, but then after owning it for about 5 or 6 months, we hated it. Just awful. And it's the things you don't think about on a test drive, like, are there vents for the people in the back seats? No, there's not. Is there really space in the back for adults? No, there's not. Can it really haul anything behind the back seats? No, it can't. And it was just awful. Well, now that I've got the Tacoma, she doesn't need a vehicle that can haul large items anymore. I've got that covered. So she wanted to get back into a car. She had a BMW before. We got her a BMW again, and we got her a 2016 BMW 535D. Oh, and I love that car. I love it so much. We looked for a long time for that thing. 535D, if you don't know, is diesel. So, and it's actually the last year they imported diesels into the country. And that thing is fun. It averages 35 miles to the gallon. It's got plenty of torque, plenty of room. It's quiet, great sound system. Although they do kind of rip you off. You have to pay $300 to activate Sirius XM on the radio, and it is even through BMW. It's funny. I'm going to flip the camera here so you can see this mountain range right here. So over to the right there, that is the Superstition mountain range. My girlfriend and I were just over yesterday hiking, actually. There's some beautiful trails over there. The Lost Dutchman State Park is where we were at, and there's a peak over on the top just to the right there. I don't know if you can see it really well. That just kind of stands out flat, and it's called the Flatiron. Well, you can hike to the top of that, and it takes about 3.5 hours, and when you're done, you're at about 5,000 feet of altitude, and the planes that are coming into Phoenix Sky Harbor to land, you can just hear them just whizzing over your head as they're coming in for their final. It's a cool hike, and you get an amazing view of the city when the air is not completely full of dust and dirt. I'm gonna switch it back here. So now we're done going east, and now we're finally going north on the 202 loop, and now we're heading up to Mesa and the top of Mesa. There was a question there, and I missed it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring it up again. How do I get that to come back up? Come on, show me. There we go. What future videos do you have planned? What would be cool to see? Videos featuring other GTOs, did that say? Well, yeah, there's definitely going to be some future plans. I have been working on a project that I am on my way to completing, featuring other GTOs as well as, yeah. So, okay, so I'll tell you what's coming up on the pipeline. So my buddy James, so last year we did the episode where we did the complete suspension upgrade on his car, changed everything. He's going to be back. He is going to be doing a nitrous kit, and we are going to be doing a fuel pump upgrade for him, and we're going to be installing a flex fuel sensor so he can run on alcohol. So you will be able to see all that in one episode. I know a lot of people would be excited about that, especially the fuel pump swap, because that's one where when you can see it, it makes a lot more sense and it's a lot easier. And especially the flex fuel sensor, it's different on the different years of car, which pin you plug in on it. And his car and my car are the same thing, which pin you plug the sensor to. But then it's also the decision where are you going to mount the sensor in the fuel system, because you've got the hard line coming up off the firewall, and then you have just about, I don't know, maybe about 2 feet of where you can have like rubber hose or like braided hose that you can put a flex fuel sensor in line. So I have mine mounted behind the brake booster. We'll figure out where he's going to mount his. He might want to hard mount his, because mine just kind of floats back there. It doesn't really float. It's not moving, but it's not attached to the car in any way either. But I know a lot of guys want to do that because it is a cheap performance fuel that is readily available. It kind of sucks out here because unless you know which stations sell the good stuff, you're usually going to get about 51 to 55% ethanol content, even though it says E85. There are a couple stations here that do sell the real stuff. There's one actually out here in Gilbert that sells at least 85%. Sometimes it's as high 90% ethanol content. Not such a big deal when you have an NA build, but when you're boosted with superchargers and turbochargers, you want that ethanol. You want that high ethanol content because it just helps with cooling. It helps with knock, detonation, so many things. So, and I think a lot more guys are going boosted now. A lot of guys are going and getting junkyard motors and throwing blowers on them or turbos on them. And having ethanol in the system is just a beautiful thing. So, and because the computer is just laying right there, all you got to do is put the sensor to the right pin, and you can tune for ethanol. It's a thing that everybody wants to do. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera again. So what we got here is a completely different mountain range. So now we're coming up, this section of the 202 is referred to as the Red Mountain Freeway. And you'll see why in a little bit, and hopefully you can see, we're coming around the bend here. One of the mountains, it says on the side of it, Phoenix. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that. I hope you can. It's right over the overpass, right over the off-ramp right now. It's kind of getting covered up by the signs. But it says Phoenix. You might be able to see it when we come around the corner here again. I'll leave it on this view. But here's another sign. Avoid crowds, practice social distancing. Yeah, they're serious about it out here. They really, really do not want it to spread. I just saw another question. Let me bring the chat back up again. Come on. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing that content. Yeah, me too. Believe me, I have wanted to release a lot more content. My life situation has changed in a good way. At work, I have been given a great deal more responsibility. I'm making a lot more money now, but the downside of that is with greater responsibility comes greater need for your time at work. So I've been devoting a lot of time to work. Have not had as much time to work on car stuff. I definitely want to do more. I really do. Especially right now, this is the perfect time because we can't go out, we can't do anything. Oh, you're not going to be able to see the Phoenix thing again. That sucks, but... Oh, yeah, no, there it is. Maybe, no, it's behind the wall. Damn it. But anyway, yeah. I do want to release more content. Especially, I'm actually thinking about buying another car to work on, a project car. I think I'd almost like to have another car that I could just do whatever I want with, because I made this mistake with my Grand Prix back in the day, and I think it was like episode 16 where I did the tribute video to my Grand Prix. I went too far with that car, and that's one of the reasons I got rid of it, because it was my daily driver. I kept hopping it up, and I took it too far, and I made it too much of a race car to the point where I didn't enjoy driving it every day, and I ultimately ended up selling it to my friend. And now I got the GTO, and I did the same thing I did with that car. I've been hopping it up, and it's right on the fringe right now, where if I go much farther, it's going to be good cross into that race car territory where I'm not going to enjoy driving it just as a car, and I don't want that to happen with this car because I love it too much. Now, I've actually owned this car now for 10 years and almost 1 month. It's the longest I've ever owned any car. And I love it, and the reason I still have it is because I love it so much. I don't want to change it to the point where I don't want to drive it anymore. So I want to just start with something else that I don't have the emotional attachment to, where I can make it too aggressive or make it too crazy in some way, and it doesn't matter. But I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'd want to build a drag car. I don't know if I'd want to build just an ultimate track monster, a hill climb. I don't know what I would do. The drag racing area seems to be pretty well covered by guys. Somebody just got a GTO with the first gear shifting GTO into the 8s. Got plenty of 9-second GTOs out there. I don't have the time or the money to devote to building a car that fast. So I don't know if I would do a drag car. I'm thinking an all-out track monster. That's been done as well too, but not to the same degree. So I'd probably go that route. I love autocross too much. I love road course driving. There are a couple of decent tracks out here. In fact, I just found a private track out in Maricopa that exists that is going to start hosting track days that I think I'd like to go do some laps around. Okay, so I'm going to flip the camera again. Out in the distance there, a completely different mountain range you're going to see coming up on the right-hand side here. And to the right, you'll see a mountain range with a series of steps way off in the distance there. That's Red Mountain. So that's where the freeway name comes from. And we have so far traveled 43 miles in 36 minutes. And we're now going west on the 202, so we're heading back toward Phoenix. But we are not going to go back into Phoenix. We are actually going to, let me flip the camera back here. We're actually not going to finish the 202. We're going to actually go north, and we're going to go up through Scottsdale and Pleasant Valley and around Cave Creek. And then and beyond that, we're going to go farther north still. Like I said, this loop is going to be gigantic, and it's all interconnected. And because I'm going the direction I'm going to, I will have to stop one time to make a turn. But if we were going the other direction, I wouldn't have to stop at all. I went this direction because I wanted to make sure the sun was always behind me so you could see me on the camera. I wish you could see over on the left right now, because now we're at a little bit of elevation. You can look down into the city. It's pretty cool. So what else could we talk about here? Let's talk about, so I have mentioned a couple of times that I've now got a Facebook page for Josh's Car Corner. Look up Josh's Car Corner, you'll find it. Anytime I make a video, anytime I put content up there. Oh, hang on, we got a question. Can you help me find a front bumper from my parts contact and ready to buy? Yeah, if you send me the email, I'll look at it soon enough. I get a lot of them. I can't look at them every day. I look at them when I can, but yeah, I can absolutely get you hooked up on that. So yeah, but anyway, Facebook page for Josh's Car Corner. Anytime I do anything up there, I'm putting up content. But I thought, especially in this time where we're all hunkered down and we shouldn't be going anywhere or doing anything, a lot of us are probably in our garages working on our cars. So what I'd like to do is, if you're doing some sort of project on your car, grab your cell phone out and shoot me a quick video of what you're up to. 2 or 3 minutes. Please have it on widescreen format like that, and make sure it's not too windy. And just shoot me a video, 2 minutes or so, about what you're doing. I can do the final edit on it, put it together, and I'd like to just do, maybe once a week, do a video, show a video on there of what you are doing on your car. Let's see what everybody in the community is doing to make improvements, make upgrades, general repairs, or if you just want to show off what your car is, I don't care. Let's just see what everyone else is up to. Let's be social, since we can't actually be around each other right now. So yeah, do that, and I'll start releasing those every week. Or if I get a ton of them, I'll maybe do one every couple of days. I just think that'd be a cool way for us all to be connected and show what we're all doing, and maybe we can opine on each other's builds, and you can ask questions. And the channel could be a great place, or the Facebook group could be a great place to like just ask questions. A lot of people, you have reached out to me on there and asked me questions in the inbox, and I've done my best to answer them for you. I'm happy to do that. If you have general questions about the cars, you want to know something, I get asked the same questions all the time, and maybe one of these days I'll just make an episode just dedicated to answering the most common questions I get asked all the time. Like, what's the widest tire I can run on a GTO? Well, it depends. And then that's probably the number one. That one always jumps out at me, that question. But there's a lot of them. So, and believe me, I'm always looking for new ideas for content. I mean, I am kind of limited in that I've only got my own car and my friends' cars, and I don't want to just keep doing things to this car and turn it into something I don't want it to be. So it does make it a little difficult, especially now that I've done just about everything I can do to this car. If you saw the end of the episode where I was doing the two-step on my buddy Chip's car, I had a little teaser in there at the end that showed that I was stopping at a performance shop and I picked up an MSD air raid intake. Well, I've been working on installing that on this car, and that episode's going to be coming out as soon as I can get a dyno day scheduled, because I didn't want to just throw it on. I wanted to see how much of a gain you can actually get by just going from a original air intake, even though it's ported, to an air raid intake. So I want to do that back to back on the dyno, same day, throw the new one on, see what the gains are. So that will be coming soon. I just got to book the dyno. And I also did one other custom thing to the car while I was working out, making that intake fit on the with my system, with my build. I don't really want to reveal that one. I'm going to keep that one close to the chest. But that one is, if it's not a world first, it's going to be a world first on YouTube, because I don't think anyone's ever done this other thing that I've done while using an MSC air raid intake. So that'll be kind of cool to show off. So now we are definitely in Mesa. Switch the camera back again. And the terrain has changed a little bit, a lot more green. We got so much rain here over the last month that everything is really greened up. Things are in bloom that aren't normally in bloom, which is really cool, because this state is really known for an absence of green. So anytime we get a little green around here, it makes me happy. I'm actually going to get a drink of water here. I'm a little thirsty. Enjoy the views while I take a sip. Okay. So yeah, now we're coming up around the top of Mesa. Mesa's kind of like, it's kind of like a lower income little, it's been here the longest of all the cities. And I want to say it's kind of like a snowbird territory. A lot of trailer parks, a lot of, oh, we got a question. Hang on. Oh, don't go away. Don't go away. Damn it. Went away. Do you know your power numbers to the wheels since your engine upgrades? Yes. Go check out episode 59. Took it to the dyno on a 113 degree day and dynoed it. Not with the air raid intake, because I didn't have it. This was 3 years ago. But dynoed it with basically the same build that I have today. And it put down 420 to the wheel horse and 400 torque to the wheel. Which is, they're good numbers. I'll tell you what they are. They're good for the cam I spec'd out, because it's not a big cam. Certainly not by the standards of like Texas Speed or what a lot of these guys, Brian Tooley, released for cams. It's kind of basic. It's only 220, 224, and the lift is only 560, 570. It's not a big cam, but the power band is so consistent. If you go back and watch that video, you will see just how flat that curve is and how the power, it doesn't peak, it doesn't spike. It's just always just this, you just ride this wave of torque. It's so nice. Makes it so enjoyable to drive. From 2,500 on, this thing is just a rocket. And what it makes it really good is when I occasionally street race a friend in Mexico, because that's what everyone does, is they street race in Mexico. And we have a hole shot race from like 30 or 40. I always beat them out of the hole, because I've got that huge hit of torque down low. And more aggressive cams make a lot of power up high, but you only get like 2,000 RPM of really good power. And then downstairs when you're taking off, you don't have it. I have it everywhere. I don't have the peaks they do up at the top, but I've got tons and tons of torque. I think my torque band, what it was like 3,700 RPM, where I've got at least 350 wheel torque. So it's just a really great street build. Not a race build, not a drag build, just a really nice street build. So I enjoy it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Mesa, sleeper town, snowbirds, a lot of trailer parks, a lot of campers, a lot of old people come down for the winter. So nice, thank you for saying that. Let's see, what to watch while you're back home. God, I'm getting through these quick. Oh, so I know the one thing everyone has asked me to do for a video, and if I get a project car, this becomes more of a reality, is do a video on installing a supercharger. Everyone wants to see how to install a blower. Probably an LS8 blower. That seems to be the go-to right now. They seem to make really good power when you set them up right. In fact, I've got a buddy who's got a G8 GXP. He put an LS8 blower on his car, and he tuned it to run on ethanol, and he's also a pro tuner, like really, really good at his craft. And he got his car down to 1042 at a $138, and that's full race weight. He didn't strip it, nothing. It had a methanol injection system for extra cooling. He runs it on the 85, and he ran 1042 at a $138 in that giant boat with just an LSA. It wasn't an LS9. It wasn't a huge Maggie. Just an LSA, which I think is a 1900 blower, or maybe it's smaller than that. I don't know, but unbelievable time that thing put down. He was actually putting down so much power. He was spinning his drag wheels inside of his tires because he doesn't have bolts to go through them. He now needs drag setup where he can stud the drag tires to the wheels because he's spinning the wheels inside the bolts. Have you upgraded the sound system in your GTO? No, I haven't. And I'll tell you why. Honestly, these days I just like hearing the car. And I don't really take it on road trips anymore like I used to. I think if I did, I might upgrade the stereo. In fact, you know what? I could be talked into upgrading it if I could find the right head unit. I want to find a head unit that can interface with the computer and give me some engine schematics and data on the car while I'm driving it. I did that in my Tacoma. If you ever watch the video where I put a better stereo in my Tacoma, it's got this thing, I forget what it's called, the iData Link Maestro, that plugs into all different parts of the car, the tire pressure sensors, it plugs into the OBD connector, and then on the radio I can bring up some preset gauges, so I can have instant fuel economy, battery volts, water temp, oil pressure, intake air temp, some other random things. And with a GM, you get access to even more different sensors you can have. And if I could get something like that to work in the GTO, then I'd do it. Because having that extra data would be nice. Then I don't have to put a gauge pod in, or I'm only limited to how many gauges I can read. I've had all kinds of ideas. And then I also thought, well, there's a company now that makes a gauge, and I can't remember the name of it, but it is an OBD2 gauge. So it plugs into the OBD2 connector, and then you can piggyback it and run two different gauges too. And each gauge can have two different sensor readouts on it at the same time. So you could have battery volts and water temp on one, and you can have oil pressure and oil temp on the other, or whatever you want. And I've thought about, that's a gauge pod setup I would be willing to do, because if I can just choose my data and I'm not just stuck with a couple analog gauges, I'd do that. So I could be tempted to go that way too. I could upgrade the stereo. I think if I do, I've got to soften the suspension down too, because if I'm going to spend that kind of money to put a nice stereo in the car, I got to soften the car down a little bit to make it a good road trip car again. My girlfriend really doesn't like riding in it because it is a little too stiff for her liking, and I admit it is stiff. But then I can go around on-ramp corners like this. First gear change in a while. So now we are turning on to the Loop 101 North, and this is going to take us up to Scottsdale, Pleasant Valley, Cave Creek, until we get up to Interstate 17. And we're actually entering the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. To the right is the Salt River Reservation, and to the left is Scottsdale. And way to the left, you might be able to see it, is Camelback Mountain, which is a popular tourist stop, hiking trails all up and down the mountain. People love it. They come there all the time. It's shut down right now because of Corona. But yeah, it is a popular hiking destination. I'm going to kick it down here. Wind it out a little bit. Might as well take advantage of the roads being so empty. All right, the cruise locked again. Have you ever tried the Torque app with a Bluetooth OBD? I've heard about that. Let me switch the camera back. I've heard about that app. You know what? That might not be a bad thing to try. I've got a smartphone. I can do that. The only thing is I'd have to find a good way to mount it to the car, because right now I've got the phone hanging from a suction cup mount, but it is a bear to get that thing to actually stick to the windshield without falling off. And I wouldn't be too surprised if at some point it falls off the windshield while we're having this drive, because it's not the best thing in the world. I could do that, and actually, I tell you what, if I could find a way to hook up a Raspberry Pi to an LCD screen, make that LCD screen fit in the radio fixture, so I could just use the screen as my radio and have all my gauge data on that would be a good idea. I'll have to look into that. Oh, speaking of that, here's another thing I want to bring up. So, you guys might have heard of something called VZ Cluster Mod. Oh, wait. Suction cup on black center worked on for me. I've done that before too, and it always falls off for me. I think it's too smooth or it's too curved. So anyway, there is this thing I want to do an episode on called VZ Cluster Mod. So if you haven't heard of it, VZ Cluster Mod is a different program that you get. You have to get a special kind of cable for your laptop, and you plug into the OBD port, and you can reprogram what the dashboard says to you in certain situations. So built into the gauge cluster on all these cars is the information for Pontiac, for Holden, and for HSV, all in there. So you can change it, so when you turn the car on, it can either say Pontiac, or it can say Holden, or it can say HSV. You can also change, they actually have, every dash has a shift light built into it. If you look at the TAC, and you look to the right of 7,000 RPM, there's that little black dot there that does nothing. That's actually a built-in shift light, and you can set for each gear RPM limits for where that light comes on, and it doesn't just light up, it also gives you a buzzer, and you can turn that on if you want to have like just a kind of simple shift light in your car. And like I said, you can set it right for every gear, so you can set it low for first gear because you get there really quick, and then second gear and third and fourth and so on. You can also reprogram how the coolant gauge works, because if you've ever watched the actual coolant water temp readings on your car versus that gauge, they don't match up at all. Like, I'll have HP tuners on my passenger seat here, and I'll be driving along, and I'll watch the coolant jump between 210 and 200, 190 degrees when the coolant fans kick on, or it can get to 220, and the gauge on the dash does not move. That thing is programmed from the factory for reasons I can't understand to be like a dummy. And it just and it has like this range of 50, 60 degrees where it just moves like that much, barely anything. And you can reprogram it so it actually gives you a real life reading. And I would reprogram mine so, like, I don't know, 195 would be right in the middle, and then it would go up from there. So when I hit 230, I'm at the top of the white, and I know I'm getting close to too hot. I'm gonna do an episode on that. I've got a friend here who's got the cable. I have the software. I think that cable's like 35 or 40 bucks. You can borrow it from someone, and you can download the software for free. There's all kinds of other little things you can change about the cluster too if you really want to get into the innate details. If you're like a coder or a programmer and you understand that stuff, there's probably a ton of stuff you can do with the gauge cluster. But you can do that, and I am going to do an episode on the VZ Cluster Mod program, because I want to do that to my own car. No HSV gauge though. I'm not going to pretend this is an HSV when it's not. So we are now officially in Scottsdale. Turn the camera again. You look off to your right, we've got a completely different mountain range again, and way off to the right, you might be able to see it as the Talking Stick Casino and Resort, and another Topgolf, if you can see the netting over there. And the casino is effectively shut down right now. All the casinos are effectively shut down right now. All the signs out front say this location is temporarily closed. But the reason I want to point out Talking Stick is at night, they have got neon lights all around that entire building, all around all the window panes, up and down all the walls, and at night that whole building glows and it shines in different patterns, and it's really cool to look at. I'd never go there and gamble because I'm not a gambler, but it is a cool thing to see. So you can see it right on the right edge of the screen. It's about to disappear. Talking Stick Casino Resort, and they have good concerts there every now and then. They get some big acts in. So switching back here. So we are officially in Scottsdale, and we're actually coming up now on the exit where they have the Pavilions car show. So there is a tradition, which has now been preempted by this virus, but every Saturday at this McDonald's at this place called the Pavilions Mall, and this has been going on for 30 years straight, they have an impromptu car show every Saturday, like clockwork, at this McDonald's parking lot, Pavilions car show. And it usually has about 150 to 200 cars every Saturday, like clockwork. Until this virus came along, it happened, and it was just impromptu. And there were some areas designated for like American Muscle or Corvettes or classic cars or imports or things like that. But it is the longest running car show in the U.S. And it's a cool thing. Every second Saturday of the month is Pontiac night. At our local Pontiac chapters, we have a road dedicated just to us. And you'll find some classic stuff in there, and I'll tell the modern guys about it. They'll bring their modern cars out, and if you have a Pontiac, you are welcome to park in one of those spots. And it's just a cool kind of hangout. And if it weren't for this virus, we'd be going there for another, 6 or 7 weeks, probably until about mid-May, until it gets too hot. And then we all go on hibernation. It's kind of a weird thing. Growing up in Wisconsin for 35 years and then coming here, I hibernated in Wisconsin from November to like March. And now I live here and I hibernate from like mid-May to like the end of September to stay out of the heat. So we're really going to have some cabin fever, especially if we're indoors because of this virus thing until it gets hot this summer. Because then we're just going to be indoors again for another few months. It's going to suck. But Scottsdale's kind of neat. There is a lot to do around here. In fact, what I should have done last weekend, and I would have filmed it for the show, is go to this place called Westworld. It's a giant expo and convention center. And the Good Guys car show and car series event comes here twice a year. It was going to be here last weekend, and it'll be here again at the end of the year in November sometime. And I've always been going on Sundays for the autocross. They have an autocross. They have a competitive autocross that they do for people who are in the Good Guys series that they run on Friday and Saturday. And on Sunday, it's All-American Sunday. And that's just anybody can show up and just go around for fun. And I've done that twice now and filmed it for the show. You can see those episodes. I think the last one was like episode 63 when I put the white line camber upper strut mounts in. That allowed me to camber in the whole suspension, and then I went back out there and took it out again and did better than I did the first time because I had much more front end grip. So that should have been going on. We're coming up on Fountain Hills right now. Our local Pontiac club, there's a really good guy named Steve Costilla. If you're in the classic Pontiac circle, you know who Steve Costilla is. He's been a drag racer of Pontiacs for 30 plus years. He's got a huge, gigantic enclosed trailer and a Grand Am shelled drag car that he's got a huge Pontiac motor built up in, and he's just a really nice guy. We have meetings at his house all the time. He does DIY days. He's got a couple of hoists. He's got this beautiful garage, and he'll host DIY days. You can bring your car there and fix anything that's broken on it, anything you would need a lift for. So he's pretty cool. So we're coming up on the top of Scottsdale right now. It's actually funny. Scottsdale is broken up into Scottsdale and North Scottsdale. Why? I don't know. And if you want to know what the difference is, Scottsdale's got money. North Scottsdale's got a ridiculous amount of money. It's just filthy how the houses look like up there. I've actually had the opportunity to work up there a few times doing my fiber optic work, having to replace the fiber optic cables up there. And you look at it like on Google Maps and there's nothing there, and then you get there and then it's just desolation and these multi-million-dollar homes scattered everywhere. It's kind of ridiculous. That much money there, all the communications companies are just will pay for it. Excuse me, I'm getting a little drive out there. So yeah, coming up on the top of Scottsdale right now, and then coming up on where Westworld would be. So let's see what else we got to talk about. Okay, so second thing I get asked about the most right now, getting parts from the guy I know about in Tucson. So I've done a couple of videos about this. The initial one being episode 60, where I actually found the guy and went and looked at all his parts and filmed it in an episode. I've gotten hundreds of requests for parts since I did that, and I had to release a second episode and add to the description saying, look, I can get you parts, but don't ask for them on YouTube. Don't ask for them on Facebook. I need to keep all the requests in one place. Please send me an email to this address. And most people do that. Some people still don't pay attention and try to do it the other way. But I have gotten a lot of requests, and we've helped a lot of people out. My favorite story so far is there's a guy in Missouri who had an 06 Brazen, and it had 19,000 miles on it, and he got in a little front end. He needed a bumper, hood, radiator core support, and a fender. And his insurance company wanted to write it off. With 19,000 miles, they wanted to write that car off. And I said, that's ridiculous. We can get you sorted out. I think we put together a whole kit. I think the guy ended up sending him an entire front clip with everything he needed. And I think it was like $4,000 shipped to him. But instead of his car getting written off, he got all the parts, and he's going to be able to get his car put back together and keep it on the road. And that's my favorite success story so far, is we kept one on the road that would have been written off. And what a ridiculous car to write off. 19,000 miles, Brazen Orange. I'm sorry, that car had some value. That shouldn't have been written off at that low mileage for a little hit. But we were able to save it, so that was good. But getting back to the parts, so I'm having difficulties with people and their requests, because what happens is, and this is one of the reasons I'm not doing this, is because the guy who has the parts, he couldn't be bothered because this happens to him all the time. People request parts, I get them prices, and I either A, never hear from them again, or two, then they don't give me a shipping code or a zip code for shipping, and then I ask for a zip code for shipping, I get them a quote on shipping, and then I never hear from them again. I mean, some of these parts are expensive to ship, number one. Things like bumpers and fenders, I mean, those are oddly shaped things. And if you've ever tried to ship anything lately, and I've run into this problem myself, anything you try to ship lately, they are charging you based on not the weight of the thing, but the shape of the thing, the size of the box. So I've shipped boxes that are like 36 inches long by 12 high that weigh like 1.5 pounds, and they want to charge me $45 to ship it a state away. But then I've shipped things that are in a box this small that weigh 5 pounds and $28. Shipping everything based on weight, and that does add to the cost of shipping things. So if you want something that's an odd shape, like a spoiler or a bumper or a door or a fender, it just costs a lot more money these days. That's just the way shipping companies are now charging to ship. It's not by the weight, it's by the shape and the size. And that turns a lot of people off. So if you want something, just understand, shipping costs a lot. I mean, he'll do it the cheapest way possible. He'll ship things he'll put them on underneath a Greyhound bus, and you can go pick them up at a Greyhound station if you want to do it cheap. But even that way still costs some money. And the parts he's got, they are good used parts. Like, they all came off of good working cars. Nothing's been massively damaged. And he would never sell a part that had broken wings on it. But these parts are getting rare, and he recognizes that, and he feels that they're worth a certain amount of money, and people don't want to pay for that, which is fine. But what frustrates me when I'm trying to help you guys get parts and help him out is that when you hear the price and then I never hear from you again, or you come back 6 months later and said, well, what about these parts instead? Well, no, I mean, just if you want parts, just give me a list of everything you want right off the bat. That helps me out. It just saves time, and I can get back to you faster. I've had these ongoing conversations with people that are like 20 emails back and forth. Oh, this, that. Oh, can you get it in this color? Can I see a picture of it? Well, it makes me responding to other people take a lot longer. So I try to let people know, just please be straightforward with what you want. Don't be shocked by the prices, because shipping parts does cost a lot of money. I understand why people are willing to part these cars out, because if there's some people that live local that need parts, they're almost guaranteed to sell them because shipping is so expensive now. So that's all I'll say about that. Is yes, I'm still working with him. Yes, I'm still selling the parts. Or no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not selling the parts. He's selling the parts. I'm getting him hooked up with people, but they are still available. You can reach out to me if you still need something, and I'll try to get you hooked up. Oh, that's a cool old Ford. Let me switch the camera. Can you see that? Nope, you missed it. It's my bad. So now we're coming up on Cave Creek, which is another nice community on the top. there's money here, but not as much money as Scottsdale. They're building this huge complex off to the right with all kinds of fancy restaurants and a comedy shop and whatnot. And yeah, how far have we gone now? We have gone 76 miles and traveled for an hour and 3 minutes, and we are still on the, I think we're about halfway done. Halfway done, oh my God. Here's another fancy outlet store. What we got? Target, Ross, AMC. It's just money. It's just money all over the place. So yeah, what's the weather going to get up to here today? 78 degrees. We have been extraordinarily lucky here with our weather. It normally, this time of year, would already be into the 80s for at least a couple weeks. And actually, one of the things they're kind of interested about, and one of the things I'm interested about, is with this virus outbreak, there's so many fewer people flying, driving by car on the roads, which is why the roads are so open. I'm going to be curious to hear from meteorologists and weather scientists to hear if that has had a noticeable effect on the climate, because they were already saying, because you know how Italy got hit so bad, and it really sucks for them right now. They've had thousands and thousands of people die, over 10,000 now. It's awful. And they said because nobody's going around on boats right now, the waters in Venice have actually cleared up to the point where you can see the bottom. Like, they used to be full of boat exhaust and sludge and oil, and you couldn't really see very deep, and now you can see all the way down. So I'm really curious if we're going to see any noticeable changes in the environment, in the weather, as a result of all of us driving so much less. That'll be kind of interesting to see. There's going to be so many social changes in the way we do things after this, and our dynamics, and the way we work is going to change. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a ton of offices realize after this, you know what? Our people were able to work from home. We got as much done, and we didn't have to keep an office building lit up and have them all come there. Let's just not have an office anymore and have everybody work from home. I can actually see that happening. And one of the reasons, you know how I said earlier that the Verizon gave me the 15 free gig that is enabling me to do this today? I absolutely understand why they did that. They are taking this as an opportunity to test their network and see if it can handle everybody being on it all the time, and find out where their weak points are, and make changes and make upgrades to make sure the network can handle it the next time this is coming along. Because we all know 5G is coming along, and actually I'm going to be one of the people helping to put it in place. We're working with Verizon. We've gotten a bunch of projects to hook up a lot of their new transmitters in downtown Phoenix to support 5G. So they want to know where the weak points are. So sure, hand everybody 15 free gig, because if they have it, they'll use it. And then we'll find out where we're strong and where we're weak, and we can make the network better. I think that's a brilliant idea. And it's enabled me to do a live stream. This part of the 101 in particular has been in construction for months and months and months. And I don't mean, and it hasn't been bad. I can't complain, because you know what? It stayed open, and I don't drive up here that often, but this particular stretch, for whatever reason, has taken quite a while. Now, if you look to the left, there's a lot of people living in the hills out to the south. There's a lot of different rolling hills and sloping hills, a lot of $1 million homes in there too. That's an area called Pleasant Valley, or Paradise Valley, where a lot of people live that have money, and a lot of canyon driving roads, steep, twisty, turny roads to get up to these multi-million-dollar houses. It's a cool place to go look at every once in a while. You know, it's funny though, they don't do Christmas decorations. Rich people out here don't do Christmas the way just your average people do. I find that kind of odd. So in a few miles, we'll be coming up to the next freeway we need to get on, which is the I-17. I find the I-17 to be interesting because they call it an interstate, and typically an interstate is connecting one or two or more states, but the I-17 only exists in Arizona. It stops here at the bottom of Phoenix, and it stops at the top of Flagstaff. That's where it gets you to. We have an interstate like that back in Wisconsin too, which is called I-43, which I find is funny. It goes from down by Beloit all the way up to Green Bay, and that's all it does. It doesn't go to another state. So how is it an interstate? I don't know. But we're going to be getting on that. And one of the things I always tell people when they ask me about Arizona is there's Phoenix, where everybody lives, and then there's the rest of Arizona. The rest of Arizona is actually quite especially once you get into what we all call the high country, once you get up over like 4,000 feet elevation. And there are a lot of places in Arizona that are over that elevation. Tucson's at about 3,000 feet, but then the places we all get away to on the weekends in the summer, especially when it's really hot, are all over 5,000, 6,000. Flagstaff's at 7,000 feet. And it's beautiful up there in the summer, just gorgeous. And then in the winter, they get snow up there. They actually have ski slopes and ski resorts up in Flagstaff, a place called Snow Bowl everybody goes to in the weekends here in the winter to go get some skiing in. And I could live in Flagstaff all year round. I really could, because I love having seasons. We really don't have seasons living in Phoenix. It's one of the trade-offs of living here is it's big and wide open, and you can get places quickly, but you never really have a winter. You never really even have a fall. Not many trees here lose their leaves even when it gets cold out. And I'm having to slow down. Why am I having to slow down for you? Oh, I see. All right, switch the camera. We're gonna make our change here. We're gonna get on the I-17. Nope, wait, that's 19th Avenue. Oh, they changed it. Another one of the changes that they made during this construction. Yeah, you don't see him. So I've been going an hour and 11 minutes now. I hope you're finding this somewhat entertaining and enjoyable. I know I figured there was going to be some walls here where I was going to run out of things to talk about, or it wasn't going to be terribly exciting to look out the window. Yeah, any questions you have, any comments you want to make, anything really is up for grabs right now. I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about sports. Here's something I'm ticked off about. This had to break right as the NCAA basketball tournaments were all about to start. That really chapped me, because Wisconsin was finally back in being into some prominence. The Badger basketball team tied for first place in the Big Ten, was going to be the number 1 seed going into the Big Ten tournament. They were slated to get like a 4 or a 5 or maybe a 6 seed going into the big tournament. I was really excited to see them play. I was really looking forward to it. Now, of course, now it's not going to happen. And actually, it's funny, ESPN, in order to fill time, because there are no sports right now, what the heck are they going to cover? They decided to go ahead and run simulations based on the 64 teams they thought were going to be in the tournament, and they were going to run a couple thousand simulations to figure out what the computer thought based on this thing called BPI score. They were going to run simulations to figure out who they thought was most likely to win the whole thing. And I think they had Kentucky winning it about 14 or 15% of the time. But then what they also said is, we're going to take simulation number 2020, and whatever the computer says happens in that one, we're going to say that's what would have happened. So what happened in that simulation? Wisconsin won it all. Wisconsin beat Duke. Wisconsin beat Baylor. And they beat Maryland to get into the championship game in that simulation, which of course probably would not have happened, but it just makes you wonder what if, right? Because that's all any of us can do now. It's funny, spring baseball happens down here. 15 of the Major League Baseball team hold their spring training down here in different facilities, and we actually live about 15 minutes away from where the Brewers spring training facility is. And I had some friends in town the week before all of this went down. We went to a Monday night baseball game there at the Brewers spring training facility in Maryvale. It was actually a boring game and an exciting game all at once, because the very first batter off Lorenzo Cain hit a solo shot, and it's a 1-0 game. And then in the 4th inning, they were playing the Mariners, I think, and in the 4th inning, somebody there hit a solo shot, and it was tied up 1-1 in the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, down to their last strike, and the guy up at bat jacks a solo shot to center and wins the game 2-1. So it was exciting, boring, and all exciting at the very end. It was really cool. And then, of course, the next day, everything starts shutting down. Everything. NBA, there was that Rudy Gobert, or whatever his name was, in the NBA. He started touching everything. All the money interview. A couple hours later, they find out he's got the coronavirus, and then it's just like, NBA shut down. Basketball shut down. Baseball shut down. And here we are. And all we can do now to entertain ourselves is watch the hell out of Netflix, I guess, which everybody's doing. Ozark season 3 came up. That's probably going to be my next binge watch with me and my girlfriend. What else have we been watching? Everyone's talking about this Tiger King show. I can't get into it. It just looks stupid to me. I don't know. I suppose that's the kind of thing people are into. We actually watched this. She loves The Bachelor. I can't stand The Bachelor. but she wanted me to try to watch. They had the show on Netflix called Love is Blind, where you meet people, but you're in isolation rooms, so you can hear the people you're on a date with, but you can't see them. The only time you get to see them is if you get engaged to them, and then you have to figure out if you could live in the real world together after you've finally seen each other. It was an interesting experiment. I don't know if they need to do it again, but it was a different twist on The Bachelor, at least, which I would never watch because, my God, the drama. But we all need things to watch right now. I actually came up with a list of things that, if you're looking for something to watch right now because there's nothing else to do, so the Motor Trend Network got some brain cells back, and they had the good sense to put Roadkill back on YouTube. I've actually watched a couple episodes in the last 2 days. I don't know if they put all the Roadkill shows back up on there, but at least up to episode 74, which is where they took it away. So Roadkill's back. So if you want something to watch, you can go on YouTube and watch Roadkill again. And there are some fantastic episodes of Roadkill. God, I'm just thinking of them. Episode 51 with the Maserati. Episode 52 with Stubby Bob doing wheelies. Episode 36 where they made the vet cart. Oh, there's so much good stuff. The episode where they went to 24 Hours of Lemons with the Rotson. Oh, really good stuff. So check that out. If you've never watched Mighty Car Mods, check that out. Mighty Car Mods is a car show done by these two guys in Australia. They're just two friends. They've been doing it for about 10 years, about as long as I've been doing this. They're just way better at it. Their production qualities are amazing. They're both, the one's a sound engineer and he also makes music, and the other one plays guitar, and he's been a car mechanic for a long time. And they're just really good. They don't really do a lot of V8 stuff. They're not big on that. What they're big on is a lot of JDM, Japanese imported stuff, little 4-cylinder cars, and then they throw big turbos on them and run everything on ethanol. But they're cool, and their process of filming and how they show you how they do things is really good. I really enjoy watching their shows, and they're a little bit funny too. What's my favorite Roadkill episode? Oh God, favorite Roadkill episode. God, I'd be tempted to say, Boatkill. I think Boatkill's my favorite one. The one where they take the muscle truck and rip the engine out of it, throw it in that jet boat, and then they go to the lake. That one is pretty cool. Because you're never going to see anything else like that, right? It's just awesome. Now, and then there's some other shows they might have put back up, but I don't know if they have. If they have put Engine Masters back up on YouTube, I would strongly recommend you check that out. There's a couple of great episodes of that in there that just teach you more about the science of an engine and what's going on with them and why they make power and why they don't, and this, that, and then they do some modern LS stuff too. The one that they did that I found was really interesting is they did this one where they wanted to show the difference between what happens with a small cam and a big cam. But the engine they were doing it on had really good cylinder heads and a really good air intake on it and a really good carb. So when they put the small... Dude, go. Dude! There's a guy in an IS-300 that is looking at his phone or something. You should see this car. So now we're getting on the 303, and the 303 is like the most remote of the roads in the chain. Why did this guy get in the left lane? No one lives on this part of the freeway. No one drives on it. This was all built for future expansion, really. It was all built in the idea that someday people were going to come out here and build houses and live off of this road and live and whatnot, and it really hasn't happened. So instead what you have is this beautiful dry road that goes through the desert. Oh, I just saw a question there and I missed it. I'm sorry. How big of a difference did the poly bushing upgrade make? Thinking about doing that. You know what? Let me switch the camera back for just a second. Okay, so here's what it did. On the sway bars, it was huge. Because what it did is it tightened them up. Because all that rubber gave you so much give on that the sway bars couldn't really do their job of keeping the car rotating over. They had to max out the rubber and those bushings before they actually mess with factory sway bars. So that was good. Doing them in the rear cradle was a big help. It helped with wheel hop a little bit. And where else? Poly radius rod bushings are huge. Those are an absolute must, because those radius rods with the factory rubber in there, what happens is they travel so much. If you see the radius rod, it's on the lower radiator core support, and it's that thing with the big plate on it. That rubber flexes so much, and it can move back and forth when you're panic stopping, and then the ABS kicks in, and then what happens is the whole bushing goes like this. So your whole wheel in the wheel well is bouncing back and forth like this when you're panic stopping. So just upgrading that to poly is an absolute must. You have to do that just to make the car safer to drive. Poly is good. It definitely did up the MVH a little bit, and it did. If you're looking to keep the car comfortable, there's some places I wouldn't necessarily do. I don't think I would do poly in the lower control arms. I don't think I would do poly in the where else would I do it? I wouldn't do it on the strut mount bushings. I would stick with rubber if you want to keep the car comfortable and smooth. It does stiffen it up, and it drives a hell of a lot better. It corns a lot better and flatter, and it just feels more responsive, and it feels more, what's the word? It feels more predictable when you're driving it hard. So poly is good, but you do sacrifice a little bit of ride. It's a trade-off. And you do sacrifice a little bit of noise. Like, I've got the inside of this car sound deadened with Dynamat up until under the front seats, because when I did it, I didn't take the carpet all the way out. If I had, I would have done everything under there. I'm gonna switch the camera. You need to see these views. So out here at the top, to the right is just mountains upon mountains, different ranges all the way up to Flagstaff as you climb in elevation. But out here, you start to see a little bit of a cacti forest. Cactuses everywhere, and you got different kinds of bushes, and the mountains are, like, the ground is definitely greener, and then the grasses are a lot nicer too. But yeah, if you look out here, we're in this freeway in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And like I said, I built this with the intention of people were going to live out here someday, and they were just getting ready for the future. And then nobody built out here. Nobody moved out here. So here we are with this beautiful freeway. And not that I've ever done this, and not that I'm ever going to do it, but the serious street racers in Phoenix, this is where they come to race. Because there's nothing out here, there's nothing to hit, there's no risk of hurting anybody else. They come out here on a Friday night or a Saturday night, because there's some good straight sections where they can just max it out and not bother anybody. And you know, I mean, I'm not a proponent of street racing ever really, but if you're going to do it, at least, and you're doing it in this situation, at least you're putting some thought into other people's lives and safety. Obviously, you're willing to sacrifice your own life if you're willing to street race, but it's other people who have no interest in it. Those are the ones. That's what street racing bothers me, when people don't think about that. So at least if you're coming out here, you've put some thought into it. So the town, let's see, the city of Peoria is what starts here, but there's actually a bunch of other little towns out here. What was it called? That's the other thing about living here. I know this whole city, different streets, but I've worked everywhere all over this city for the last 3 years. I know where everything is now. There's so many different places to go and see and do, and places to eat, and places to visit. I got friends scattered all over the valley. There's some friends that take me an hour to go visit. My buddy Chip with the Black 04. He lives an hour away in Valley, southwest. Now, Peoria. And we're gonna be going eventually to Glendale, where the Cardinals Stadium is, and we're gonna be going past Goodyear, Buckeye, and Avondale, and Litchfield Park are all the cities that are technically is part of the West Valley. Big valley and all this out in front of you. I used to have to drive up here a lot for work. There was a town I was working in and did a lot. And I find some shows to watch. And also, if you're a gamer, there are some really good video games. If you're on Steam, they just dropped the price of the new South Park RPG. South Park are fantastic. They are the best South Park games I've ever seen. The first one, The Stick of Truth, it was literally like you were in an episode of South Park. I mean, everything looked exactly like the show. You played like the show. They talked like the show. It was awesome. I'm sure the second one's going to be exactly the same way. I loved it. And also, if you want games that you can play with your friends, I love the Borderlands series. You can play up to 4 of your friends can all play together on the same team. And what's cool about Borderlands is when the more people you have playing, the more difficult the enemies become, but the better weapons and prizes they drop too. So it almost encourages you to get 4 people together and play because you get better weapons, and it's just a lot more, and it's just a lot of fun. There's all kinds of online games you can play, and I'm sure there's plenty of first-person shooters getting the crap played out of them right now. Call of Duty and Gears of War and things like that. I never got into first-person shooter games. I never really did. I like games that involve strategy and just having fun and working together with your friends, but not just killing people all day long. I find it gets to be a little too spiteful and angry, and just the people who are really good at it are the people who have just been playing. They play 20 hours a day, and they know that perfect sniper's point. Just sit there and whack everybody all day, and that's no fun. That's no fun, at least not to me. So yeah, I've been trying to, I like everybody else, been trying to entertain myself, working on my car, coming up with ideas to work on the cars. I hope wherever you are, you've found ways to keep yourself entertained and have fun and keep safe. And I hope all your family members are doing well too. I'm kind of lucky in the fact that my parents live in this quiet little town because they're both 60s, 70s now. And it's kind of like a summer retreat for people from Illinois. And nobody lives, so right now nobody lives there. So they're on it without having to do anything. They're isolated from people, so that's good. And then my grandma's 93, she's down in Florida, but at some point she has to come home, and that's what I worry about, is her having to get on a plane and fly, and even though there's hardly anybody flying right now, you never know. So yeah, so I hope wherever you are, I hope you're safe, I hope you're taking precautions, I hope your family members are all safe and healthy. Yeah, we kind of circled back to this whole virus thing. It just sucks. And I mean, I could talk about the politics, who should have done this, who should have done that. I don't feel that's appropriate right now. I think it's the appropriate thing is that we're all just making sure we're doing what we can to keep each other safe and keep each other healthy. That's the important thing. I hope we've gotten over the hysteria, though, of people standing in lines at grocery stores every morning to buy toilet paper and bottled water and food. And that's the part I found the most ridiculous. You have this virus outbreak, and you can catch it, you don't know you have it for 2 weeks, so we have to keep away from each other. So what does everybody do? They go to this grocery store as soon as it opens, and then they fill up their car with groceries and stand in line for an hour surrounded by people to check out. How stupid can you be? But I think that's mostly died off now, and that's a good thing, because that on its own could have led to a huge spread of it. That would have been hard to track back to its source. But so now we're coming up on Happy Valley. I'm going to flip the camera again. We've been driving for an hour 28. Good God, and I've covered 104 miles. And we've got about another 25 miles on the 303 to get back to the 10, to get back to the 202, and finish this journey up. So this has been going on. Like I said, I figured it was going to go on this long. I'm going to get another drink. A lot of retirement communities out here. Sun City on its own is what I would call a moneyed retirement community, and a lot of rich old people out there. In fact, when I've gone there to work on the surface streets, people are driving around in golf carts. Don't even own cars, just they've got these custom kitted out golf cars. They look like Cadillacs and Hummers and things like that. Golf bags strapped to the back, and those carts can do like 30-35 miles an hour. So they drive them to the grocery store, they drive them to the bank, they drive them wherever they got to go, and the whole city is just like a one big retirement community and golf course. It's kind of funny, actually. Coming up on this other mountain range right here, you can see in the back, this is the westernmost mountain range of the valley, and one of the peaks over to the left has got a ton of radio transmitters up on top. That is the one cool thing, because we've got all these mountain ranges around. You never struggle to get good radio reception, and you never struggle to get good TV reception, because they put the towers all up on these mountains. You could be 80-90 miles away, which you can be because this area is so spread out, and get perfect reception. So that's a good thing. But actually, one of those peaks up there, there's an old Army proving ground road over there that's this soft gravel, and they used to use it to test the test the abilities of their military off-road vehicles. They would test tanks, Hummers, half tracks, anything, to see how capable they were off-road, trying to climb to the top of this mountain on this soft gravel road. We're going the wrong direction, unfortunately, for you to be able to see it on the camera. But anytime you're driving west on Interstate 10 toward LA, you can see it off to the right. And it's actually pretty cool. You can see it miles and miles away because you've got this brownish kind of mountain and this white gravel road that goes all the way up to the top. Lot of power transmission out here. You can drive so far out here, and then you can take Highway 93, which is the road we all take to Vegas. They're gonna turn it into an interstate at some point. They want to call it Interstate 11. Nevada's already converted their share of it to Interstate 11, and that's what they call it now. It goes around Hoover Dam now. You used to have to drive over the dam. Now they built this bridge that bypasses the dam because you can't. They just couldn't have all that traffic on the dam anymore. Once they get that interstate done, that'll be excellent because they've already said it's going to be a 75 mile an hour speed limit. We'll all go 90 because that's just what we do out here. And be able to get to Vegas from here in about, I don't know, 4.5 hours. It's not a bad drive. It's actually kind of entertaining. You go through some beautiful mountain ranges. You go through the Joshua Tree National Forest, which my mother loves because it's my name. And then there's this really cool town you go through called Wickiup, where there is if you remember the old Peanuts cartoons, Snoopy had this kind of like Mexican cousin that had a little broom mustache and he wore a sombrero. Well, they've got this thing in Wickiup where he's riding a rocket, this little Mexican Snoopy, and it says "Welcome to Wickiup" on it. And there's a gas station you can stop at there, and I don't know why you would want to do this, but there's a gas station you can stop there, and you can rent automatic weapons. And they've got a shooting range out back, and I'm not talking about like these are like ARs with the auto thing turned off. They're fully automatic weapons, and at this range you can take them and you can shoot them. So you can shoot an AR, you can shoot an AK, other automatic weapons I can't think about, but it's just a fun little place you can stop on the way to Vegas or on your way back home and fire an automatic weapon if you feel like it. And they also have a little rally track there too, and you can rent little Subaru and Prezas and Cobalts and things, and you can go tear up a rally circuit for a little while if you feel like it. Just one of these ways that these little towns in the middle of nowhere have found ways to bring some money in. Kind of fascinating. Once you get outside Phoenix, you get into what I call the real Arizona. There are some fascinating things. Route 66 goes through quite a bit of Arizona. In fact, the longest unbroken stretch of the original road still exists here in Arizona. I think it's like 115 unbroken miles of it, and it's actually called Route 66, and it isn't any other highway too. It's just that, and it's awesome. I've driven on it a couple of times, and it is wonderful. There's so many cool things you drive by: old gas stations, old tourist shops. There's this place right outside of Kingman, Hackberry's General Store. That's a really cool place for photo ops. Kingman's a cool city, and my favorite place is called Oatman, which is right just inside the border of California, right past Needles. And it's a town. It used to be a copper mine. Back in World War I, they were mining copper for the shells for the munitions for the boys in Europe. And once the war ended, they shut the copper mines down, but they had all these donkeys, or burros you might say, that were used in the mine to help haul ore around and haul supplies around. And when they shut the mine down, they just let the donkeys free into the wild, and a lot of them survived. And now they are considered a protected species. And if you go into Oatman, everything is donkey themed, and the donkeys actually roam free through the town, and you can feed them from little feeding machines. But what's funny is if they get in the road, they have the right of way. You have to wait for them. You can't drive around them. You have to wait for them to get off the road. Oh, that's a cool little town. Flagstaff's an awesome Route 66 town. I maybe someday I'll do a live stream from Flagstaff because it's such a beautiful place. It's so wonderful up there. Beautiful terrain. You're in a gigantic pine forest surrounded by even more mountains. Now a couple of nice lakes and rivers, and the climate's just really nice up there. I love it up there in the high country. So maybe someday we'll do a live stream from up there. We're finally making the turn back south. and we're going to come into, flip the camera again. We're going to come into the Surprise area. We passed Sun City. We're going to come into Surprise, and then eventually we're going to come into Glendale a little bit, and then Goodyear. Goodyear is where my buddy James lives. James has the Brazen that we did the suspension on, and we're going to do the if you were not watching earlier, an upcoming episode, we're going to do an upgraded fuel pump in his car, and we're going to do a flex fuel sensor, and he's also installed a nitrous kit. We're going to wire it up for nitrous. I hope he bought a progressive timer, because that's really the best way to do it, but if he didn't, I'm going to talk him into it. And we're going to do an episode that involves a nitrous install, a flex fuel sensor, and an upgraded fuel pump, and that'll be a good episode. He and I had this kind of thing, and I got this MSD aerated intake eventually I'm going to have on my car, and now he's got the nitrous setup. I mean, if he can put the power down, he's going to run the nitrous setup. I think he wants to run 100 shot, which, he'll easily beat me with that. But, I've got my own ideas simmering in my brain. It's just, it's becoming less and less of a money problem now that I'm doing so well at work. It's a time problem. It's having the time to work on my cars and work on my projects and do these things. I have to schedule, like when I want to do an episode on a buddy's car, I gotta schedule that weeks in advance, just not just for my schedule, for their schedule. Everyone's so busy out here now. It's hard to just have an informal, hey, you want to get together for a burger and just go for a drive? Yeah, let's do it. Can't do that anymore. Everybody's got families. Everybody's got other obligations. It just makes it tough. I'm hoping with this social isolation that's come with this virus, we'll all kind of remember that, hey, we need to get together and hang out and have fun and be social like we used to be once this is all said and done. Hopefully that comes sooner than later. The predictions are all over the map. Well, we can be done with it by May, we can be done with it by July. This might go through the whole year. I hope not. I really don't want to see people lose their jobs, lose their homes over this because they can't work, because they're not allowed to work. That would suck. I really hope we get through that, and I really hope something gets set up for people like that in down and out situations, like especially in the service industry, waiters, people who work in restaurants. Because the other thing I think is going to come from this is, after we spend so much time living at home and cooking our own food and just eating at home, we're not going to change back, and we're not going to go back to eating out as much as we used to. And restaurants are not going to see the same turnout as they used to see. We're just going to realize, hey, we can save a lot of money just by staying at home and eating, like things were 30, 40 years ago. And a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. We're such a service economy now. I worry about that. I worry about people who want to work not being able to work, because it just sucks. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track here. Comments. I haven't seen a comment in a while, or a question. Anything you want to ask, anything you want to say would be awesome. We got about, I would say there's got about another 30 minutes left of this drive, and then it's going to be over. So anything you want to ask me, I'll even answer personal questions right now. Anything you want to ask me about me, my car, family, Arizona, Wisconsin, anything, go ahead and ask. And also, make sure, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and join the Josh's Car Corner Facebook group. I really want to start making that more interactive and have a lot more things going on with it. Like I said earlier, submit me your videos about the projects you're doing. I'll put those on the site. We can share what we're doing on each other's cars. I think that would be cool. Or even if you live somewhere cool, if you're proud of your car, if you really want to share your build with everyone, do that. I would love to see that. I'm sure others would love to see that too. Let's just turn this into more of a community. Find a way that we can all share something that we have in common right now, because that's important. We need to find ways to stay connected. Oh yeah. Something else I was going to mention. Okay, so one of the hardest things to find for our cars in the last few years has been, there are two specific tools that are very important if you're going to own a GTO and maintain it yourself. And those are the rear cradle alignment tool and the front cradle alignment tool. There are these dots, and they insert into parts of the body and parts of change your cradle bushings or something, you need this tool to make sure when you pick back up, everything is lined up and in place so the car doesn't do any kind of weird stuff when you're driving it. And if you ever take the front cradle out, if that's how you take your engine and your drivetrain out, same thing, you need to make sure it's lined up when it goes back in. Well, all of a sudden lately, there's been a couple of places that have popped up that are now reproducing these tools. Now, the one I've dealt with recently is a guy named Dylan Granger. You can find him on a lot of the GTO Facebook groups. He started making the rear cradle alignment tool. He made himself taking a mock-up off of a factory tool and started making one. And then he just recently released some examples he made of the front cradle alignment tool. And there's in Illinois, Bowman Productions. He does a lot of stereo stuff, but he made copies of the front cradle alignment tool that he's selling. I think there's a couple other places that do it. There is one guy, Hendrix Engineering, he does it, but he was talking crap about Dylan because he said something about his tool wasn't right, and he was trying to say, well, my tool's better than his, you should buy mine. I don't appreciate that. Anybody who's doing anything to try to help this community is somebody I want to support. And I actually have Dylan's tool, and I told him I would try it on my car and make sure it all fit, and I would get back, give him some feedback to make sure it was all good. And I will do that, because if he's going to the time to make these tools, he's making his money on them too, but he's doing something for us in the community to help us keep the cars on the road, and that's an important thing to do. So I give him a lot of credit for doing that. We need more people to step up and start doing things like that. It's nice to have a place to go for spares, like the guy I know in Tucson for the parts. And I know some people scoff at what he's asking for the parts. Great, okay, if you don't want to pay that much, you don't want to pay that much. If you can get it somewhere else, great. But at least they're available. We have it so much better than the Australians have. You know they can't even get spare parts. They can't get doors. They can't get door glass. They can't get rear glass for their Monaros. They just don't have it. They only had 4,000 examples of the cars or something like that. And if they're desperate enough, they'll get parts from here and ship them back at huge expense to them because the exchange rate's so terrible and the shipping rates. That's what they have to do to keep their cars ready to go. We are so much more fortunate that we have so many examples of the car here that we can get parts for. And I don't ever want to see one parted out, especially if it's a car that's a running, driving car and someone decides to part it out for the engine. Oh, that chaps me. That really bothers me. How many brazen cars have you seen around? Well, my buddy James has one. My buddy Nick has one. Might be a third one floating around somewhere. So there's 2 or 3 around Phoenix that I know of. But yeah, getting back to the parts. I understand if a car gets cracked up bad enough, the insurance company's not going to fix it. You can't afford to fix it. I get part of that out. Or if it's really badly wrecked, okay, I totally get that. If it's a running, driving car and you part it out, oh, you're on my hate list. I can't stand that.
Well, what do you think? You think the prices are at a low?
You know what? I see this question a lot, and actually, Haggard evaluate cars at the end of every year. The GTO at the end of 2018, the prices were steady, and then at the end of last year, the prices started to slowly trickle up. I think because there are getting to be fewer and fewer good examples of the cars, the values will start going up. Having said that, I don't think you should own any car just because of how much it's worth. I think the reason you own a car is because you enjoy driving it and you want to get pleasure out of it by driving it and having fun with it and building it. Owning any car just because of how much it might be worth someday is the wrong reason to own a car, in my personal opinion. You might disagree with that, that's fine, you're entitled. But I think that the whole point of these cars is to enjoy them. The GTOs, the G8s, the Caprice PPV, the SS, those are cars you gotta enjoy. They're just too much fun to just keep locked away hoping they're gonna be worth more someday. Okay, we are coming up on the final, the end of the 303, I should say. This isn't the final freeway change, there's one more, but we are coming up on the end of the 303. Making the turn to Phoenix, and we have gone 125 miles in an hour and 44 minutes. Well, I think I'm going to be a little short on my mileage guesstimate then. I'm going to be short on my time estimate too, because I thought it'd take 2.5 hours. It's going to end up. All right, one last turn. You know what? If there wasn't traffic up there, I would have some fun on this ramp, but unfortunately we got some cars. Okay, so we are on the home stretch, and I think for the first time we're actually going to touch Interstate 10. We drove under it at the beginning, and we didn't go near it when we came back to the city. But let's see. Then we hit I-17 for that brief stretch. Yeah, so this is the first time we're going to hit Interstate 10. So coming up here, along with upgrading, putting in the new 202, they also had to make a lot of upgrades and improvements in Interstate 10. Upgrades that were definitely needed because there are just as many people coming in from the West Valley to come into the city to work as there are from the East Valley now. And the traffic pileups are just getting massive. So it's a good thing that they put in all this work. And what amazes me is they got it done so quickly too. They did a really nice job. They got the whole project done in about a little over a year. Oh, we gotta have a nice C06 Corvette right there. Husband and wife out for a drive. So yeah, but and the reason that is such a big amazing thing to me is because in Wisconsin we couldn't get anything built to save our lives back there. If you lived around Milwaukee, you would know that there are two interchanges that they needed to desperately upgrade. The Zoo interchange, which is right by the Milwaukee Zoo, and then there was the downtown interchange that needed to get upgraded, where I-43 and the 794 all come together, and they were both in need of upgrade. The Zoo interchange just recently got completed, but they were working on that for 10 years. 10 years. It was one interchange that took the 894 bypass and Interstate 94, and they just merged. It took them 10 years to freaking get that thing done. Here, they widened Interstate 10 by a full lane. They built a whole new interchange for Loop 202. Widened the roads, repaved everything, and got that all done in a year and a half. I have 06 with boiler exhaust, and oh, dang it! Come on. Rear end mud with ram air. How much would long tube headers help? Oh, great question. Okay, long tube headers, huge help. Probably one of the first things you should do, honestly. The engines from the factory are so restricted. They're restricted on the intake side, definitely by the box. Not as badly as you would think, though. The big restriction comes from those big cast iron manifolds and the catalytic converters and the 2-inch system. That's the big restriction. You put long tube headers on, you do 2.5-inch cats, or you go catless if you can do that in your state, and you get a good 2.5 system with an X-pipe. That on its own, you gain 30 horsepower. There's that much resistance in the system, because when you can get more air out of the engine, you can draw more air into the engine. This is something people have a hard time understanding, but when the exhaust valve opens and you start pushing all the exhaust out, when there's all that restriction in the system, you can't necessarily get it all out, and sometimes you end up compressing exhaust gas because you can't get it out. So then you go to draw in more air on the intake stroke, and there's exhaust pressure and exhaust gas still in there, and you haven't gotten it out. That's less room for air. That leaves you less room to make more power. So by opening the whole system up and making it freer flowing, you get that much more exhaust air out. You can then draw in that much more fresh air, contain more oxygen, it's a denser charge, and you can make more power. That on its own is the biggest thing you can do. Long tube headers and exhaust are definitely where you should start. What does that say? Message? Oh, okay. Better to do a true X-pipe or keep the true dual? No, X-pipes are good. X-pipes are good because you want to balance the flow between the cylinders, because V8 engines, at least American V8 engines, have an uneven firing order. So the order on this is 1872653. So what happens is twice on a complete revolution, you have 2 cylinders firing on this side, and then you have 2 cylinders firing on the other side. So in order to balance out the pulses and the pressure, you want an X-pipe, because then that pressure, when it gets pressure heavy on one side, it balances it out to the other side by having the cross in there and having the exhaust meet. So an X-pipe is the best way to do it. An H-pipe is a good secondary way to do it, but you definitely want to have them combined, because it just helps balance the flow out and makes the air going into the engine more balanced too, because then you don't have some cylinders that still have exhaust gas. It just evens everything more out, so everything is as even as it can be. So it's like cylinder 1 isn't getting more intake air than cylinder 7, and there isn't more exhaust gas in cylinder 3 than there is in cylinder 6. That's why you want it. That's what helps the system out. It just helps everything stay at a level playing field. It makes tuning a lot easier too, because everything is it keeps everything more uniform and the same. So you definitely want to go X pipe or H pipe if you can. So now we're coming up on Avondale. This is the last town we're gonna see, and this one always makes me happy because every time I drive by here, you look off to the right, there's a strip, there's a little bit of a shopping center and a hotel, and I don't know if you're gonna see it because of that semi truck, but no, I think we're gonna miss it. But there's a sign there that says Culver's on it, and well, me being from Wisconsin, I love Culver's. It is absolutely my favorite restaurant. Oh, there it is. Can you see it? There it is. There's the sign. That sign just reminds me of home. You know, I live in Arizona, and I have a house here now, and my girlfriend here, and I'm happy here. I love it. But Wisconsin's always going to be my home. One of the big reasons being because of, well, all my family's there, and it's just where I grew up. It's what I'm familiar with, but also because of Culver's. I love Culver's so much. And there are so many of them here now. It's like home, which is so wonderful. I think there's like 35 of them in the state now. And there's probably about 15 of them in Phoenix Metro. And I've probably been to about 12 of them. Oh, I love it. We actually went yesterday, my girlfriend and I did a little picnic day. We went out to that Lost Dutchman State Park that we saw at the very beginning of the trip. Where the Superstition Mountains are, and then we went to Culver's for lunch. Their drive-thru was still open. We got lunch. Then we went and found a nice green spot to have lunch. Then we went back and got some ice cream later. It was fun, good time, great food. Everyone's got their preferences. A lot of people out here like In-N-Out. I could take it or leave it. Five Guys is really good, but it's also really expensive. And the amount of fries they give you, good God, that's a lot. Their favorite restaurant joint. My favorites out here. Here we go. We'll just talk about this. So my favorite restaurants that are like Arizona only. Filiberto's for great Mexican food. That's pretty good. It's good greasy Mexican food too. It's not like fancy sit-down restaurant style. For that, there's a restaurant that me and my girlfriend go to called Poncho's. That's on Central between Baseline and Southern. That's a really good sit-down restaurant.
I have a Diablo printer tuner. Is that a good one, or should I look into a shop?
Oh yeah, no. For a good tune, if you've done a lot, always have a pro do it. Diablo tuners have preset tunes in them that may not necessarily be get the best out of your particular build. That's where a professional sense comes in. You always want to have a pro do it once you take in the build to a certain extent. I mean, a Diablo, and I don't want to knock them because I've never used them, but so the thing about a Diablo is they've got predefined parameters for like certain kinds of builds. So if you have a cold air intake, they've got a tune. If you have a cold air intake and an exhaust, they've got a tune. It's a good general tune along the same lines of having the tune that came in the computer from the factory. That just, it's good, it's okay at everything, but it's not great at any one thing. That's where a professional tuner comes in. And I would always go to a pro once I've taken my build to an extent, especially once you've gotten beyond bolt-ons. You really need a pro to do it. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, favorite restaurant. So Filiberto's for Mexican. For Chinese, there is this chain down here called Lynn's Chinese Buffet that I really like. Probably the best Chinese buffet I've ever been to. Yeah, no problem, man. That's very good. There's this great place for British food here called the Cornish Pasty Company. Have you ever had a Cornish pasty? Those are really good. And they do them with all different kinds of meats and cheeses that they would never do in England. But it's really good. What else? Four-Piece Brewery is good for beer. Sandham Brewery is good for beer. There's this new place called the Fate Brewery I haven't gone to yet that's going to be really good. Yeah, there's a lot of good food choices down here. And it's fun. Yeah, it's good. What else was I going to say? No, I've already done that. Yeah, but it's fun, and there are all kinds of cool festivals that happen down here too. I noticed the numbers are going up now that we're coming to the end. the one that I got bummed out that got canceled right when this thing broke out is the Ostrich Festival in Gilbert. I really want, you can ride ostriches, people race on ostriches, you can just pet them and have fun with them. I thought that would have been really cool to see. There actually is an ostrich farm. If you take Interstate 10 toward Tucson, outside of Eloy, there's a place, Rooster Cogburn's Ostrich Farm. If you're really hankering to see some ostriches, you can go there, and you can get some ostrich action on. There's another really cool place I'll mention. If you're taking I-10 toward Tucson, the Pinal County Air Park. If you ever wondered where old airplanes go, and I'm talking about big commercial planes and old military planes where they go to die, it's this gigantic air park out there. You drive by and you can see them all cling filmed and wrapped up, and they're all just parked all over the place in the desert on this, and there's a right along this gigantic runway where all these planes go to be retired. It's actually kind of cool. I'd love to go check it out in person one day. This is the final leg of the road run right here. We're getting back on Loop 202, which is where the whole thing started. This is the new piece that they just opened up a few months ago. And we got a few miles on this, and then the journey is going to come to an end. We've gone 139 miles in 1 hour, 56 minutes. So I hope this now gives you some perspective as to just how big Phoenix Metro is. It is huge. And like I said, I know there's areas that are bigger, like LA, I'm sure is much bigger than this, and I'm sure you can connect some roads together to make an even larger road around LA than this. But I can't think of many other places in the US where you could do an entire lap around a population and go as far. So, you know what, if you can, let me know about it, because I'd love to know some other areas that are as spread out as this. And we're coming back up to, oh, I gotta move over for this guy. Coming back up to the end here. And now, this is the mountain range. This is the mountain range we go to the left of. That mountain range down here. And I forget what it's called. I wish I knew. I think it's the Gila Range. I don't think it's the Australia mountain range, although Australia is what it is on the west end of it. And then what you will end up seeing once we make this turn here over to the left is South Mountain. And South Mountain is the range that we used to live next to, and it's where all our television and radio towers are. And you can actually drive to the top, and there's some cool vista points up there. You can see the city. And then there's also another road that goes all the way to the west end where there's some hiking trails, and a lot of bikers go there. They actually have one Sunday a month that they'll shut all the roads down to car traffic, and it's just and it's for bikers only, which is kind of cool if you're into that sort of thing. So we're coming to the end here, and I hope you have enjoyed this lap of Phoenix. This has been entertaining and informative for me, because I was always curious how long this loop would be, and now I know it's going to be about 150 miles, which is ridiculous. It'd take about 2 hours. And it's been, I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. I hope you've enjoyed going along and getting to see a little bit of what I get to see every day living out here. It's different to Wisconsin in so many ways, but they offer so many things I didn't ever get to see in Wisconsin, like mountains. Those don't exist out here. And to see mountains that aren't snow-capped. I mean, we were lucky last February. It got really cold, and we had a lot of rain come through, and all the mountains around for about a week were snow-capped. And that's something that the people who have lived here a long time told me hasn't happened in about 10 years. So it was really cool to see that. But then just to see the mountains as they are right now is really cool. Every now and then I get fooled and I think I see some white things on top that I think are snow, and they're not. They're just white rocks. But it's different living out here, but it's cool. Oh yeah, you're very welcome. I appreciate you coming along the whole way, if you did come along the whole way. It's different living out here, but it's got its moments, and definitely when you're looking for good driving roads, and when you're looking to enjoy driving your car, this is a great state for it. You get out into the high country, get out into the mountains, the eastern part of the state, the northern part of the state. There's so much good driving out there. It's wonderful. We have a great driving road out by us that actually we just had a rock slide happen on last weekend. We got so much rain. There's a 10-foot high pile of rocks sitting on this fantastic driving road. We can't drive on it right now, which sucks. but it's all good. There's plenty of things to enjoy in this state outside of Phoenix. Like I said before, Phoenix is where we all live, and then there's the rest of Arizona. And the rest of the state is an amazing state. You got the pine forest up north, you got the mountains, lakes and streams, good hunting if you're into hunting. I might actually get back into a little bit of hunting. And there's one thing this virus outbreak has taught me is it's not a bad idea to have some food supplies and food stores that you can fall back on when you need to, especially after those grocery store rushes. It might be nice to go back to shooting a deer, shooting an elk just for the meat, and have that meat in the chest freezer just in case you need it. Never hurts. That's how we growed up in Wisconsin. And I say growed up because that's what you would say if you were in Wisconsin. Oh, okay, one last thing I'm going to say. So, if you need a good laugh, there is this comedian who's from Wisconsin who's been doing these videos now called Charlie Berens. It's Berens. He's freaking hilarious. He talks in this northern Wisconsin UP accent that almost none of us talk in, but we all recognize. It's absolutely hilarious. He does some really excellent content. He released a video last week with the quarantine on how to make a brandy old fashioned and fill out the census. It was really funny. And now he just released one on Friday on how to make a Bloody Mary and donate to hospitals. He's just a really funny guy, and he's a stand-up. He goes around and does stuff too. If you're looking for a laugh, check him out on YouTube. He's very funny. I recommend him. Dobbins Road. I think Australia is going to be the next one. I never get off down here, so I don't remember. No, Australia's 2 exits away. Well, you got me for 2 more minutes. So, any last question you might have, or anything you want to say, feel free to say it. Elliott Road, Australia, V Quiva. We have this tiny little casino down by us that I'm sure was all too thrilled for this freeway to open because it goes right by the casino. And now, what happens? I'm back. So, my phone overheated. It had to overheat right there. Oh, God. How funny is that? Okay, so I am officially off the road now. The trip's officially over. Final numbers, 149 miles, 2 hours, 3 minutes to do a lap of Phoenix. So if you ever wanted to know, there you go. Sorry about the disconnection. Didn't even think that my phone would get too hot sitting in the windshield. Thank you so much for going on this trip with me. You will see a new episode soon as I get that dyno day scheduled, so I can get my intake tested out, figure out how much power it's making, and get that episode up. James and I will hopefully get together soon and do all the stuff on his car. Keep cranking stuff out as quickly as I can when I have the time. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching for 10 years of Josh's Car Corner now. This has been going on. So thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for continuing to watch the show. And once again, wherever you are, please be safe. Please take precautions. Do what you can to help you and others that you care about. And let's all stay safe. And we can keep doing this again for another 10 years. See you next time.